everybody. I'm Black,
I'm Ball.
and it's this long. Today, we're kind of going to be talking about like a little bit of a more serious, not so much a serious topic, just a serious aspect. I mean, the topic in itself is serious, but there are times that we try to keep things light. But no, this one is actually pretty alarming for me, and I wanted to show Ball to get his 2 cents on it.
See what you got for me here.
Yeah, just take a look at this.
In 2013, I decided to meet my enemies. I was a 27-year-old award-winning documentary filmmaker and a proud feminist, and I was determined to expose the dark underbelly of the men's rights movement. At that point, all I knew of the men's rights movement was from what I read online, that it's a misogynistic hate group actively working against women's equality. While the vast majority of my previous work was about women's issues, I directed documentaries about reproductive rights, single motherhood, and the need for more girls to get into STEM education.
All right, so you see how she's setting this up, right?
Yeah. I say she's very clearly stating that she at some point had one very clear view, seeing that as only women.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And making it sound like she truly believed that women's issues were very prominent. That meant, yeah, she was very. She made it clear she's a hardcore feminist.
Right. Now check this shit out.
So when I learned that no one had ever documented the men's rights movement in a film before, I saw it as an opportunity to continue fighting for women's equality by exposing those preventing it. So for 1 year, I traveled North America, meeting the leaders and followers of the men's rights movement. I spent anywhere from 2 hours up to 8 hours interviewing each individual men's rights activist, also known as MRA. And I filmed 44 people total. And there's an important rule in documentary filmmaking. As an interviewer, you do not interrupt. So I'm asking questions, and I'm getting their full life story. And in the moment, I didn't realize it. But now looking back, I can see that while I was conducting my interviews, I wasn't actually listening.
It's crazy how she had to watch it twice. It's like she lived it and then had to go and see it again to realize, oh shit, I wasn't paying attention.
Oh yeah, that happens a lot, especially in the moment. I
Now,
mean, shit, I can tell you, like during our Impossible runs, there was a lot of stuff that was going on right there in the moment. Was not paying attention at all.
right, it's like I'm just trying to get to the next part. I gotta get to the end.
Gotta make it there. Wait for the sun to rise up, then I can go get some sleep.
Right. Now, I don't have anything to comment on right here, but it's like we kind of do have to break up the video a little bit. We can't let it like run too long.
I was hearing them speak, and I knew the cameras were recording. Good. But in those moments of sitting across from my enemy,
you know what? There's an issue right there already.
What was I doing?
What?
It's like she sees other people as her enemy.
Right,
like
right.
She's seeing these men as their enemy. Instead of the idea that these people are people that we have to live with. Why do we have to see them as our enemy?
Right, but rock with her for a second. Just hear what she's saying.
From my enemy, I wasn't listening. What was I doing? I was anticipating. I was waiting to hear a sentence, or even just a couple of words in succession that proved what I wanted to believe, that I had found the misogynist, the ground zero of the war on women.
What percentage of people do you think do that with their opposition?
I would assume that that's something that you had to train out of yourself.
You have to train out of yourself.
Yes.
That's not no. What percentage of people do you think actually do that with their opposition?
I would say close to 95% to begin with.
It's damn near all.
Yeah. I would that would be a pessimistic viewpoint that I have on that. It's like I would assume that everyone that gets into an argument or has a certain point of view would automatically think that they are correct unless they actually step back and teach themselves to let the others or let themselves be wrong. Like that, I would assume that that would be something that you would have to learn
Hmm.
instead of just immediately like fall into being able to step back and look at yourself as well as others.
Hmm. This seems like that kind of sounds like how we've kind of like dodged full blown fallout because it's like we're not hardwired to think it's like nah it's like this and ain't nothing else. It's like you still actually hear the other person.
I think of it like from my point of view, I've always been the person that likes to stay out of conversations and look at things from the back end. And
Hmm.
I sort of like learn to see what the issue arises whenever someone has a hard line that they will never cross and refuses to do any introspection.
Ah, so you were a people watcher.
I was.
Me too. All right, let's get back into it.
A couple of times I thought I had it. There was one men's rights activist that said to me, just walk outside and look around. Everything you see was built by a man. Ooh, his statement felt anti-women. It felt my jaw clench. But I sat quietly, as a documentarian should, while removing all the space between my upper and lower molars. After my year of filming, I was reviewing the 100 hours of footage I had gathered, replaying and transcribing it, which, believe me when I say, no one will ever listen to you more than someone who transcribes your words. You should write that down. So I was typing out every word meticulously.
You gotta stop. I thought it was funny the first time I heard it.
No, it's funny, but it's still a pun. You
Yeah.
have to give a pun the disrespect that it deserves.
And through that process, I began to realize that my initial knee-jerk reactions to certain statements weren't really warranted, and my feeling offended didn't hold up to intense scrutiny. Was that statement about men having built the skyscrapers and the bridges anti-women? I thought, well, what would be the gender reverse scenario? Maybe a feminist saying, just look around. Everyone you see was birthed by a woman. Wow, that's a powerful statement. And it's true. Is it anti-male? I don't think so. I think it's acknowledging our unique and valued contributions to our society. Well, luckily, while I was making the Red Pill movie, I kept a video diary, which ended up tracking my evolving views. And in looking back on the 37 diaries I recorded that year, there was a common theme. I would often hear an innocent and valid point that a men's rights activist would make, but in my head, I would add on to their statement a sexist or anti-woman spin, assuming that's what they wanted to say but didn't. So here are two examples of how that would go. A men's rights activist, an MRA, would say to me, there are over 2,000 domestic violence shelters for women in the United States, but only one for men. Yet multiple reputable studies show that men are just as likely to be abused. I would hear them say, we don't need 2,000 shelters for women. They're all lying about being abused. It's all a scam.
It's crazy how fast the filters in someone's brain can work. As soon as you hear the words, before you can even digest the words, they would completely evolve in their head and be something that you never said.
Like a certain form of projection. Part of that thing I said earlier about training that sort of logic out to allow yourself to be introspective and able to actually listen to another person.
So I think some people made it through their entire like early life without having to be introspective at all.
I am so sure that there are people who are knocking on death's door at old age that are still not able to introspect.
Look inward.
Look at yourself. Don't just look at the mirror. Look in your eyes in the mirror. What do you see? What do you really see?
Some people are gonna break that mirror.
Some people won't see anything but their iris.
Mm. But let's keep it going, because like we haven't really gotten to the topic itself. This is just the primer.
But in looking back on all the footage I'd gathered of men's rights activists talking about shelters, and all the blogs they've written, and the video live streams they posted on YouTube, they're not trying to defund women's shelters, not at all. All they're saying is that men can be abused too, and they deserve care and compassion. Second example, a men's rights activist would say to me, "Where is justice for the man who was falsely accused of raping a woman? And because of this accusation, he loses his college scholarship and is branded with the inescapable title of rapist." I would hear them say, "A woman being raped isn't a big deal." It's as if I didn't hear the word falsely accused of rape. All I heard was he was accused of rape. Of course, rape is a big deal, and all the men's rights activists I met agreed it is a horrible thing to have happened to anyone. I eventually realized what they're saying is they're trying to add to the gender equality discussion who is standing up for the good-hearted, honorable man that loses his scholarship, his job, or worse yet, his children, because he's accused of something he absolutely did not do.
Do you have an example of that?
Of a personal example? No.
I actually had a friend in college that almost went down for double rape.
Jesus.
You know what double rape is?
I would assume it would be one girl back or two girls back to back.
Hold on, I got you.
Second-degree rape occurs when a person uses forceful compulsion against a victim who is simply incapable of consent by reason or being either physically or hopeless mentally incapacitated. Double rape. This person in the middle of the two people come up to the middle person's side, and at the same time, the two people hump the middle person. Oh.
Okay. One is not what I was looking for, and the other is stupid. It's like basically they were trying to make people believe that they tried to get people to believe that he raped two people at the same time. Now I said tried, and he almost went down for it, but it didn't hold up. But it's the fact that why would they try to do that?
Different women that have different reasons for that sort of deal. It's like, who was the one? I would assume the ones that were quote unquote raped were the ones that falsely accused him, yes?
Yes.
No. Okay. I wonder what their reason was, whether or not, like, say, like, he just happened to piss them off, and so she wanted wanted a revenge on a vindictive level.
It could have been. It could have been a plethora of things. It could have been a plethora of things.
I have heard of a somewhat similar situation where a girl, high school girl, accused this one poor dude of raping her, all because she didn't want another dude that she liked to think that she was seeing other dudes.
You're joking, right?
I'm not. I'm not to actually find that video.
Oh no, that reminded me of that one girl that accused I think she accused two dudes of grape. But there was but there was video. There was a video of it. And it's like you can kind of see in the video that it wasn't grape. It was not. But here's where it gets raunchy though. She was so busy trying to tell them that it was that her brothers actually found one of the guys and stabbed him to death.
See, we have this thing in the court system about being innocent until proven guilty.
As if. You already know that's guilty until proven innocent barely.
But in kangaroo court, it's guilty until proven innocent, yes.
Okay, that's our judicial system then. In certain cases. They can act as much as they want. It's the same way as like America the Beautiful. How like everything's supposed to be happy-go-lucky and whatnot, and it's supposed to be like, you know, our happy little area where we live and whatnot, the American dream, this, that, and the third. It's like, we can play and pretend all you want, but no, it's kind of dusty. It's dusty over here. It can get dusty. And it's the same thing goes for our judicial system. It's like, yeah, we the same way we say that there is an American dream, and the same way that we say that America is beautiful, it's like, you know, it's, you know, you can have like, you know, peace, liberty, love, and the pursuit of happiness over here, this, that, and the third. It's the exact same thing with the court system. It's like, yeah, innocent until proven guilty. My fanny in some of these cases. And they can say it as much as they want, but you can watch it and you can watch them contradict themselves. So it's like, do you believe the words or do you believe the actions?
I believe the actions first and foremost. And that's why I definitely don't trust public outcries whenever they start to yell grape.
Oh.
And there's where you run into some issues where some people are like, if you start to question whether or not an accusation is false or accurate, if you start to question that, people then immediately turn to you and be like, well, now you're victim blaming.
Cheat code.
Again, yes.
I've
often wondered about this narrative that says that men are taught to forcefully assault people at a young age. Like our culture just revolves around that. Where
men are
did
taught
that
to what?
come from? Are taught to grape.
Were you taught?
No. I was raised by a single mother. I for damn sure don't expect her to teach me to do that shit.
I wasn't taught it either. Are you a guy?
I am a guy. I identify as a guy, that's for sure. On my birth certificate, it is stated that I am a male.
Let's keep going. They need to stop that shit. I want you to keep listening because it's like some of that's relevant to what's coming up.
Well, I couldn't keep denying the points they were making. There are real issues. But in my effort to avoid agreeing with my enemy completely, I changed from putting words in their mouth to acknowledging the issue, but insisting they are women's issues. So here are two examples of how that would go. A men's rights activist would say to me, men are far more likely to lose their child in a custody battle. And I would counter, well, because women are unfairly expected to be the caretaker, it's discrimination against women that women get custody more often. Yeah. I'm not proud of that. Second example, an MRA would say to me, men are roughly 78% of all suicides throughout the world. And I would counter with, but women attempt suicide more often. So ha. Ha? It's not a...
I'm so elated that she is able to actually look back on her past actions and really like dwell on it and be able to look at her old self and be like, what were you on?
It would be nice if more people did that. Though it is at the same time funny to hear that even the feminist sees that sort of what do you call that? What do you call that? That little conundrum there. The idea that something bad happens to man, women most affected. Men make up the majority of suicide rates, women most affected. It's like, I know that's a meme. That comes up pretty often, though.
Oh, I haven't seen that. All right.
Contest, but I kept making it into one. Why couldn't I simply learn about men's issues and have compassion for male victims without jumping at the opportunity to insist that women are the real victims? Well, after years of researching and fact-checking what the men's rights activists were telling me, there is no denying that there are many human rights issues that uniquely or disproportionately affect men. Paternity fraud uniquely affects men. The United States Selective Service, in the case of a draft, still uniquely affects men. Workplace deaths, disproportionately men. War deaths, overwhelmingly men. Suicide, overwhelmingly men. Sentencing disparity, life expectancy, child custody, child support, false rape allegations, criminal court bias, misandry, failure to launch, boys falling behind in education, homelessness, veterans issues, infant male genital mutilation, lack of parental choice once a child is conceived, lack of resources for male victims of domestic violence. So many issues that are heartbreaking.
What in God's name is infant male genital mutilation?
Circumcisions.
Is it?
It is taking a piece of the genitals and removing it, which you could see that as being a form of mutilation. I could see that nowadays being a very different thing, considering the whole, like, people trying to jump on the trans bandwagon.
If you are the victim, or you love someone who is the victim of any one of these issues, these are men's issues, and most people can't name one because they think, well, men have all the rights, they have all the power and privilege. But these issues deserve to be acknowledged, they deserve care, attention, and motivation for solutions. Before making the Red Pill movie, I was a feminist of about 10 years, and I thought I was well-versed on gender equality issues. But it wasn't until I met men's rights activists that I finally started to consider the other side of the gender equality equation. It doesn't mean I agreed with all that they said, but I saw the immense value in listening to them and trying to see the world through their eyes. I thought if I could get my audience to also listen to them, it could serve as a rung on the ladder, bringing us all up to a higher consciousness about gender equality. So in October 2016, the film was released in theaters, and articles and critic reviews started to roll in. And that's when I experienced how engaged the media is in groupthink around gender politics. And I learned a difficult lesson. When you start to humanize your enemy, you, in turn, may be dehumanized by your community.
Funny how that works.
This video is back from 2017. Rest in peace, Daphne.
Daphne.
The the trans individual from The Closer, Dave Chappelle, his friend.
Mm.
That happened years after this TED Talk. Apparently, it's still going on. It's like if you try to humanize your enemy, you may end up being dehumanized by your own community.
Gotta get realize that you say it's from what 2017 that this was put out.
Yeah,
That was only up towards to 5 years ago. That is not a lot of time.
but
And
if
even
people
20 or
actually
30
heard
years
this
ago.
and actually listened and actually tried to like go forward like this, we would be, especially with how fast information goes around these days. Things go viral in the drop of a dime, and next thing you know, everybody's doing the dance, or like everybody's using the new phrase or doing the new, carrying themselves. They're like, especially when cheat code talk circulates, everyone's using the new phrase and trying to implement it into like their arsenal, or adding it on to like part of who they are or how they carry themselves. This got left in the dust. You said this only came out 5 years ago. Yeah, but given today in today's age and how fast information travels, this came out 5 years ago.
Right. But on that point, this came out 5 years ago, and people should have been able to just pick up on this is not correct. It's like, for one thing, people pick up things so fast, but they also drop it almost immediately. It's like,
Unless it's
if
cheat code talk.
give it a couple more years, those cheat codes will change. As well
Exactly.
as another point is that it's also based on whatever people pick up is based on how popular it is. So if Cassie J here does not have a popular opinion that is pushed forward by the media and the communities that are listening to her, then it will be left in the dust, and only a very minute people who actually think for themselves and not stick in their own community, safe bubbles or safe havens, echo chambers, then it will not be picked up at all. That we run into an issue where we have an issue right now is where people staying in their communities and not wanting to actually communicate with each other, not wanting to actually see the viewpoints from different perspectives other than their own.
It's like the world is competing for who can suck the fattest one.
Victim mentality, yes. It's like, who is the biggest
Sucking a
victim?
fat one is not a victim action.
Depends on who's doing the sucking. I mean, shit. You could say prison life. You really think anyone doing the sucking in prison is actually on the winning side of things?
I actually do.
Really?
Yeah.
I hope I never go to prison again then, because I would see that as a losing situation.
Of course, you would see that as a losing situation. Can you see who it would be winning for?
The most gayest of men who have that sort of fetish.
Right. It's a goddamn candy shop for them. It's like don't disregard them. I mean, okay. And then like that's not to generalize. It's just
No, it's a very niche thing.
right. I know people personally that I'm not saying they're trying to go to jail. But I'm saying that it's like they would make the most of they would make the most of their situation if it played out like that.
Are you saying that they're going to be a happy conductor on the train?
It's like, yeah, it's like, okay, I'm about to be in here for a 5-year bid. Might as well make the most of my time. What do I like to do? But to hop off of this topic entirely.
I'm gonna put this in as a blooper at the very least.
But to hop off of this topic entirely, and to come back to what we were talking about. Yeah, these days, sometimes it seems like this time it seems like everybody's trying to fight for who can, like trying to compete for who can suck the fattest one.
We had this topic, brought up this topic previously of talking about who has the better politics, who has the better community, who has the better football team, that sort of deal. It's all a competition there. There's not really an idea behind actually, like, how do we progress together? How do we progress as a society?
Right.
There's very little of that. And I do wonder, is like maybe if it's something that maybe we're just too big as a society to really empathize with each other or enough people to actually make a difference. It's like we only have so much time in this world. We can't spend all of our time trying to learn and fix everyone else's issues as well as our own.
Well, look, if there was a, if it's you say that like our society may be too big. It's like completely separated and having to start from nothing or starting from a small group and growing. Yes, you're looking at a 30, 40, 50 year, 60, 70, 80 year endeavor where it to make significant progress, especially when you have active opposition. I feel like there could be some key values that people could. It would be hard. It's like I feel like there are some certain key values that are hard to argue that you can't argue. And if people in mass were able to kind of like instill those, correct is like helping people with their issues wouldn't take nearly as long. Like a combined push.
We have an example of that, you know.
What?
Christianity. The Ten
Chill.
Commandments. I know. I am not going to chill on this. Like, that is exactly what that sounds like. You're talking about having a set sort of values that a bunch of people can all agree on, and then also push that onto those around them.
No, I'm not saying push it on to people. I'm saying, like, when I said push, here's what I meant.
Okay.
It's I could say literally push. It's like the difference between 20 people trying to push a building or push a car or push a train car, push anything, physically push it. It's like the difference between 20 people trying to push something and 20,000 people trying to physically push something. I didn't mean like you're trying to force your ideas on people. That's completely different. When I said a combined effort, a combined push, it's the difference between 5 people recognizing that men have issues mentally that nobody pays attention to, that is specifically like towards men. It's the difference between 5 people knowing that and talking about it and 50,000 people knowing it and talking about it and actually actively wanting to do something about it. Not just people on the floor, but people up high. A combined effort as a society. If there was a combined effort as a society, what you're saying takes too much time for such a short life would take next to no time at all. That's what I was saying. What you brought up about religion is completely unrelated. And I can't necessarily condone it because anything can be pushed in the same way a religion can be pushed. And there's some things that should not be pushed.
I agree. But when you were talking about pushing and before that talking about ideas, how can I not take that as anything but pushing anything that sounds like a religion?
No, I meant like the activity pushing.
I get you.
Like
I get you, and I agree
being
with
active towards a solution, not trying to change what's going on in people's heads. Being active towards a solution. It's like, okay, you have 2 people trying to clean up the interstate. That's going to take them forever. But if we had a litter day where it's like you got that entire section, that city is like, yeah, I'm going to the litter festival. It's like they give out free food and shit, free water. It's like, yeah, let's go over there. And like the same way they have Easter eggs hunts on Easter, you got people picking up whatever litter they find as they march along the street. It's like, yeah, you're gonna clean the whole area in fucking no time compared to 2 people trying to do it.
Wrong. I
Wrong?
agree. I said you're not wrong. I
Oh,
agree. I agree wholly that more people make more of a difference. Yes, there's no way I can argue about that. That's not what I'm countering, though. I was just simply stating what you said before, saying push
that
made
one
it
word.
sound religious. Even making a festival of it could eventually turn into a religion of itself, like Easter.
Push is not a religious term.
No, but we use it in a modern way that could be used synonymously with other different aspects, whether it is for a project, both physical, in a club, an ideal, or anything else. It push is just a word that we use to describe something, bro. That's all I'm saying. But back to before the whole push, you're creating a set of ideals that we as a large community could agree on to
Hmm.
actually push forth and grow better as a people, as a society, correct?
Right.
Incorrect?
You're right. Not so much something to believe in as far as like in a religious sense, but something along the line of like a
A
it's like
moral
just
thing.
yeah, like moral
But
practice.
but that's why I bring up religion in the first place, is because at its core it is moral teachings, not just a way of telling stories. There is supposed to be morals taught in the stories that are pushed into Christianity.
It's crazy how the majority of the participants in religion kind of ignore the morals and cling to the story.
I would have to be better versed in the Bibles in order to actually counter that, or even not at all. But like
Well, you
say
don't no, it's like you go out into the world every day. You hear the news and you see it's like I think isn't like Christian look whoosh wait, stop. We've gone so far off the tracks.
because of the examples that were brought up, yes. But again, what I'm just trying to say is that there are more. If you're talking about teaching morals, you're dancing towards the way of religion.
I don't think that is inherently true. If you cannot teach a child how do you teach a child the golden rule then? The golden rule exists without a religion tied to it. Why when you put more things on top of it, more morals on top of it, there has to be a god behind it.
You know, I see your point. I'll I'll take that back then. Not religious then. Would it be more aligned with tradition then?
Hmm. Um.
It's like something that you could turn into a
Yeah,
tradition.
I was about to say it seems like once it's there for a certain amount of time, you could say that you can say that that's tradition.
Right.
But
And I could see like saying like nursery rhymes, like Ring Around the Rosie, like something like that being turned into a way to teach moral understandings. Like say
mm,
about the
you
old
make nursery rhymes about it.
I wouldn't be surprised.
I mean, huh? What would you It's like so. I guess what virtues?
Virtues, warnings. I mean, that is part of the reason nursery rhymes were invented in the first place was to tell a story and sometimes a warning, like Hansel and Gretel.
Or the
It's like,
monkeys jumping on the bed.
yeah,
Let's say I swear one fell off and bumped his head. It's like well, eventually they all did because they were they were monkeys and they kept jumping on the bed.
like they just kept doing the stupid thing. They all ended up the same way. Wonder what
But
the moral of the story there is. But I,
we've
oh,
digressed far too far. This
not
itself would have to
necessarily,
be
not,
this
no,
it's
not
this
at
section
all.
itself would have to be cut out and made its own separate video.
Not at all. We're talking about society here, bro. And in one part of society is getting a bunch of people onto the same subject. Nursery rhymes were used that way for a long time, as well as religion. But yes,
Hmm.
it's like in order to teach future generations, because that is what creates our society in the first place, is the generations that follow us. Yes? No?
Yeah.
So if you were to create something like Litter Day, make it a tradition, would you put it in a nursery rhyme? Would you just make it a holiday?
At this point, yeah, it's like nursery rhymes, children's cartoons, this, that, and the third.
So on that question then, back to the Cassie J here and the whole where did we go off on this? Why did we get to the point where we're so animosity? Why we're so at each other's throats between men and women?
Let's
Do
finish the
we even
video
have
right quick.
do we even have any nursery rhymes like based on the interactions between men and women?
No, we have mainstream songs.
The only ones I can really think of at the top of my head are country songs, and none of them are good.
The only ones I can think of are rap songs, and none of them are actually. I know some of the country songs. It was like I know some instrumentalist songs too.
And the thunder rolls and the lightning strikes, and the love grows cold.
Blockhead's daily routine.
Hmm.
But let's finish the video.
Is music our modern day nursery rhyme?
Not modern day. They still have nursery rhymes because there are children in today. The nursery rhymes grow up with us and they become our music.
Hmm.
And that's what happened to me. Rather than debating the merit of the issues addressed in the film, I became the target of a smear campaign. And people who had never seen the movie protested outside the theater doors, chanting that it was harmful to women.
This sounds so close to like what happened to Dave Chappelle with The Closer. It's like people who hadn't even seen the movie, people who hadn't even watched the special, were just going forth and just trying to destroy it, every piece of it, and him.
Yeah.
Incredible. But hold up, let's let her finish this part right quick. Hold on.
Not even giving him a chance to actually say his piece in order to communicate. There was no communication. There's no conversation there.
Right.
Protested outside the theater doors, chanting that it was harmful to women. It certainly is not. But I understand their mindset. If I never made this movie and I heard that there was a documentary screening about men's rights activists that didn't show them as monsters, I too would have protested the screenings or at least signed the petitions to ban the film because I was told that they were my enemy. I was told that men's rights activists were against women's equality. But all the men's rights activists I met support women's rights and are simply asking the question, why doesn't our society care about men's rights?
There's a question there again. Why do we? Why is there the projected idea of an enemy between two groups of people that live with each other, that have to live with each other?
We'll talk about it in a second. I mean, I've been talking to you about the gates of separation for years at this point. But we'll just hold on. Let her finish right quick.
Chakras of society.
The what?
And the chakra gates of society.
Huh.
Well, the greatest challenge I faced through this whole process, it wasn't the protests against my film, and it wasn't how I was treated by the mainstream media, even though it got pretty disgusting at times. The greatest challenge I faced was peeling back the layers of my own bias. It turns out I did meet my enemy while filming. It was my ego saying that I was right and they were subhuman. It's no secret now that I no longer call myself a feminist, but I must clarify, I am not anti-feminist, and I am not a men's rights activist. I still support women's rights, and I now care about men's rights as well. However, I believe if we want to honestly discuss gender equality, we need to invite all voices to the table. Yet this is not what is happening. Men's groups are continually vilified, falsely referred to as hate groups, and their voices are systematically silenced. Do I think either movement has all the answers? No. Men's rights activists are not without flaws, and neither are feminists. But if one group is being silenced, that's a problem for all of us. If I could give advice to anyone in our society at large, we have to stop expecting to be offended, and we have to start truly, openly, and sincerely listening. That will lead to a greater understanding of ourselves and others, having compassion for one another, working together towards solutions, because we all are in this together. And once we do that, we can finally heal from the inside out. But it has to start with listening. Thank you for listening.
Oh, man. But yeah.
So your question at the beginning of this is, why did this not get so much more coverage?
No, I already know why it didn't. The topic, actually, so if you guys want to find out why I showed all this, you'll have to check out the follow-up video to this, which will probably come out like around, right after it. But down in the comments section, let me know why can't we just be friends? Why can't we all just get along?
People have been asking that for years now, and I'm starting to think people just kind of throw that away as being like almost a meme in itself.
Yeah, it's like, why can't we be friends?
Shut the fuck up with that bullshit.
Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and just be on the lookout for the follow-up. Ring that bell so you know when the follow-up comes up, because that'll be the actual topic that I wanted to bring up relating to this video. But till then, I'm Black.
I'm Ball.
And let us know whatever talk to us about some of the comments that you heard us make with a timestamp, please, so we know how to address what it is that you're saying in the comment section. But until next time, it's this long. Thanks for watching.